just ask President Museveni a direct question. That should Bashir come here, will he hand him over to ISIS?
Radio talk shows and live outdoor political debates, locally commonly known as Bimeza, are now monitored 24 hours, 7 days by the state intelligence. A special desk at Criminal Investigation Department is in place to deal specifically with media.
You create even a department within the police, the so-called political and media offenses department, just to monitor what the media is doing, how people are using the platform. We are not saying that there should not be regulation. Who should come first at the top of the table and address people, and then another one follows. But this is not the case.
Many journalists are constantly summoned at CID to answer queries in relation to political statements made on air. They spend more time here being grilled than being in their offices carrying out their duties.
They shall return on Monday at 2 p.m. with the possibility of being taken to court thereafter. We continue to cooperate with all the investigations. We don't think there is any merit in the case.
Ben Bella, a veteran journalist, now head of Mass Communication Department at Christian University Mukono, has practiced journalism for over 40 years with his vast experience. This is his message to those in power.
For me, I'm not worried, because I've seen it all the last 40 years. People come and go in Ethiopia, in West Africa, in East Africa. I've seen it in Southern Africa. People like Banda. I've seen it all. So it has been proved that anybody who tries to fight the press and push it away heads for a disaster.
Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.
Existence of ghosts on the army register and did nothing. And also where I said that the president has lost a moral purpose to power. He's only interested in rule rather than in delivering. I was also interrogated on this article written by Charles Onyangobo called Museveni's SWOT going into 2011. Especially this second bulletin under weaknesses, where Charles wrote that the president has become narrow-minded. That's a very serious crime of sedition. And I have been summoned again to the police. They said they will send me the summons to come and answer. So this is one of the issues.
Andrew Mwenda, then moderator KFM talk show Mwenda Live, faces 15 counts of promoting sectarianism and sedition. In August 2005, while on radio show, is quoted to have said that the Ugandan government was responsible for the death of John Garanga, Southern Sudan leader, who died in President Museveni's personal helicopter. The radio station was put off air for a week. On 26th of August 2004, Radio Simba featured a discussion on discrimination against homosexual individuals in Uganda. The Broadcasting Council imposed a fine of $1,000 on the station and ordered to apologize.
By the end of the week, we had a letter from the Broadcasting Council summoning us for having committed a crime of hosting people to say what they think. We went and faced the Broadcasting Council. I still insist we were treated shabbily by the Broadcasting Council.
Many radio stations across the country have either faced closure or attacked and mysteriously set on fire. In February 2006, Choice FM in Gulu district was raided and closed by the Uganda Broadcasting Council, accusing the station of being a security threat. This stemmed from a talk show featuring opposition candidates. In 2006, Radio Wa, a local radio based in Lira district, was burnt by mysterious characters.
Opened up the building, they got in, they failed to operate the machine, then they almost ended up burning the whole place. So that was in the morning. So when we went there, the same, we got the building burning. We had two transmitters, radio transmitters, and all of them got burned.
In 2006, Open Gate Radio in Imbali district was raided while hosting a critical opposition member of parliament candidate Nandala Mafabi.
They stormed the studios and attacked the Honorable. Some threatening to undress, some threatening to beat him up and to get into a scuffle. And from there, the police also came in and started demanding that we give them the recording of the show.
In 2003, Choga Veritas Radio, based in Soroti district, was raided and closed by government security personnel for over 3 months. They accused journalists working for the station of aiding the LRA rebels to advance the attack.
As we come in here, we were all surprised and amazed. This whole place was surrounded by red tops with military fatigue and guns and so on. So they brought us here, so we just noticed that these guys had an intention to close the radio.
On several occasions, journalists have been subjected to torture and harassment by the state mercenaries on their line of duty. During such public demonstrations, journalists are usually targeted because they expose brutal acts these state mercenaries subject to the citizens. Citizens' rights to freedom of assembly and protest are violated on a daily basis.
So you go from here, you begin from, if you want to cover, you the other side or the other side, but not in the middle of the square. Please, you are here, let's go.
Some of these police officers enjoy that. That's why you want to see some bit of pushing, some bit of beating, and then you do it.
Journalists' gadgets have been either confiscated or destroyed by these state mercenaries. On 27th of August 2008, two WBS television journalists, Timothy Sibasi and Tumwekwasize Francis, were subjected to torture by the police constables at Nelson Mandela National Stadium.
As we were heading towards the office of the management of the stadium, there were some policemen. Others were boarding the bus. Others were there in the compound. They started calling each other that these are journalists who have been writing on them negatively, so we should be disciplined there and then. So we didn't take it serious. We headed to the office, but they kept on shouting. They started gathering. They eventually surrounded us, started threatening to beat us up. We thought at first maybe they were joking, but later on I saw them charging. Then I told my colleague, Sibasi, that please, let's leave these people. Maybe it seems they have an intention of beating us for a reason we didn't know. We withdrew, we came back. As we were heading back to our car, they started calling us to go back. We had no reason as to why we could go back because they were really threatening to beat us. But we decided to drive off. Immediately they started informing the person at the gate to lock the gate. So we had no way we could drive off or out of the stadium. They came shouting with the dogs, with them. They started beating us up. They pulled us out of the car, started beating us up and down. My leg was bleeding I had a deep cut on my left leg. My friend Sibasi had all the scratches of dogs all over him. Our driver was also beaten.
Talk a lot of these things. Me, I also work under order. Likewise, you. But why does they come here? Why this and what is this? This is not a police barracks.
Who gave this directive that the media should not be allowed?
This is a civil court, it's not a military court.
January 2006, during the hearing of retired Colonel Kiza Besigye and 22 PRA suspects on treason charges, journalists were on some occasions denied possibility to cover court proceedings. This day, journalists were blocked from entering Kampala High Court premises.
We are not supposed to be.
This gives a very bad impression because we are all gathered here, we are very peaceful, and I thought we would be allowed to exercise our freedom to report objectively. It would create room for speculation if journalists are not allowed inside.
We are facing chaotic times, but as you know, for us, we are the fourth estate. We shall be vigilant and we shall ensure that the freedom of the press is not muzzled.
Journalists have been harassed, forced out of the country, and others dismissed out of jobs.
Personally, I was under threat. I was threatened first by the government. Two, they tried to abduct me. But when all those avenues failed, now they turned to the management, where straight from the State House up to Radio Sapiencia, where I was working, so they threatened to close down the radio because of the programs we were doing. What happened? I was forced, my contract was terminated, neither was I compensated, and I wasn't even given a warning of what I was doing.
Current diminishing human rights situation for journalists in Uganda has not spared foreign journalists working in the country. They have faced harassment, bureaucratic hurdles in the process of attaining work permits, and diplomatic limitations. BBC reporter Will Rose in the same year, and others, their movements beyond 100 kilometers were restricted and denied accreditation.
No, I'm not chasing you. We want to establish.
Journalists have tried to stage peaceful demonstrations, filed petitions, and challenged draconian laws in the courts of law in an effort to protect their right. But their loud and clear messages seem to be falling in deaf ears. Despite all this, the head of state still insists to know what right journalists have.
What right does anybody have to damage the future? Because now, you put any wrong story in the papers, it is on the internet. Everybody in the world reads it. And yet it is false. What right do you have to damage our future? You have no right. You have no right. We cannot go like this. If such groups cannot restrain themselves, then the law must restrain them.
So, who is there to advocate or fight for the free expression and freedom of the press?
We have a responsibility. The democratic values place a huge responsibility to the media, including bringing down repressive governments. So that is our work, professional work. We must continue fighting.
There is need, therefore, for us to continue to do our advocacy in order to protect those independent journalists who would like to expose the vices in society, to protect the media proprietors who feel threatened that they lose business, and of course also to protect those practitioners who would like to issue to express themselves.
We prefer to die yesterday defending the cause of freedom in Uganda than to live for the next 1,000 years acquiescing to his tyranny. We will not. So Museveni does not give us permission to do what we do. We publish the truth. What he decides to do is his business. It's not ours. If he wants to come and arrest us, let him do it. If he wants to torture us in safe houses, he's free to do so. If he wants to kill us, that is his choice.
Journalists are patterns in social, political, and economic development, but the president looks at them as saboteurs.
However, I'm entitled to ask the following question. Tours have to sabotage our development.